What if I told you that you have the power to build a self-esteem so strong that nothing, no person, no failure, not even your own fears, can shake you? Imagine living without seeking constant validation, without needing others' approval to feel worthy. Sounds impossible. It's not. This journey starts within, with the wisdom of Stoicism. Today, we're going to break down how to build an unshakable self-esteem, one action at a time. Ready to discover the true power of self-worth? Let's dive in. We live in a world where validation is at our fingertips. Likes, comments, followers. These numbers tell us how worthy we are, right? Or at least, that's what we've been led to believe. But what if I told you that real value, the kind that doesn't waver, doesn't need constant applause, doesn't come from being seen, but from what you stand for when no one is watching? Think about it. How many times have you altered yourself, your actions, your very being to fit into someone else's idea of who you should be? How many times have you hidden your true self, your thoughts, your desires, because you were afraid of being judged or overlooked? Maybe you've tried to be someone you're not, just to get a bit of attention, just to feel validated. You put on that mask, you act the part, you adjust your tone, your mannerisms, even your thoughts. But deep down, you know, you're not being true to who you are. Here's the truth: you don't need to be seen to have value. And in fact, constantly seeking to be seen might be the very thing that's keeping you from recognizing your own worth. Imagine a world where you didn't need anyone's approval. A world where your value wasn't tied to how others perceive you. How would that change the way you lived your life? How would that shift your approach to work, relationships, even personal growth? This is true self-worth, and it's something that Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius understood deeply. Stoicism teaches us that our value is inherent. It doesn't come from the opinions of others. It doesn't come from applause or recognition. It doesn't even come from being seen at all. It comes from within, from how we see ourselves, how we act in alignment with our values, how we hold our integrity, even when no one else is watching. If you've ever felt like you're only somebody when people acknowledge you, you're not alone. Society, social media, and even family dynamics teach us that our worth is linked to external validation. But here's the empowering truth. Your worth is defined by your actions, your character, and your decisions, not the spotlight that others shine on you. The next time you find yourself in a situation where you feel overlooked or undervalued, don't shrink back. Rise above it, because in those moments, your true self-worth is revealed. It's not about being seen, it's about how you see yourself. When someone chooses not to recognize your efforts, don't chase after their approval. Don't try to prove yourself. Instead, turn inward. Ask yourself, am I proud of who I am right now? Am I proud of the work I've done, the choices I've made, the person I've become? If the answer is yes, then you have all the validation you need. You don't need anyone else to tell you that you matter because you already know you do. True autonomy comes when you stop relying on others for your sense of worth. The Stoics taught that self-respect and peace are rooted in this principle. I am enough as I am. I don't need external praise to validate my existence. It's a radical form of self-empowerment. Here's a key concept to remember. If you can't find value in yourself without external affirmation, you'll never be truly free. You'll constantly be dependent on others' opinions, and that dependency will keep you from growing into the best version of yourself. This doesn't mean you need to be cold or indifferent to others. It simply means you are free to stand tall without needing constant praise. You have the ability to hold your head high, make decisions that are true to who you are, and act in a way that aligns with your values, even if no one acknowledges it. It's like a quiet strength, a solid inner core that doesn't depend on external forces to maintain its integrity. Your worth is unshakable when you decide to believe in your own value, even when the world around you doesn't see it yet. Think about this. Every time you choose to stay true to yourself, even when no one is looking, you're strengthening your self-esteem. Every time you make a decision based on what you believe is right, and not what others think of you, you're building a foundation of solid, unshakable self-worth. So the next time you find yourself chasing after someone else's approval or trying to fit into a mold that doesn't feel right, remember, you don't need to be seen to have value. Your value is built on the strength of your character, the quality of your actions, and the integrity of your decisions. And this brings us to the next lesson: how to truly master your mind and adjust your internal dialogue to reflect this self-respect and self-worth. Because when you stop needing others' validation, it's time to start validating yourself internally. Now that you've realized your value doesn't rely on being seen or approved by others, it's time to address one of the most crucial steps in building unshakable self-esteem: adjusting your inner dialogue. Let's dive deep into this. Your inner voice is constantly speaking, whether you realize it or not. Every day, it's shaping your thoughts, your actions, and ultimately your reality. And here's the thing: if you're not careful, that voice can become your biggest enemy. We've all been there. That voice that criticizes, that doubts, that tells you you're not good enough, that you're not worthy, or that you're going to fail. The inner critic. But here's the truth: you are not your thoughts. Thoughts are just thoughts. They come and go. What defines you is how you choose to respond to them, how you choose to control them, and how you choose to adjust them. Because that inner dialogue, whether positive or negative, has the power to either build you up or tear you down. It's that simple. So let's take a moment to reflect. How do you talk to yourself? What do you say to yourself when you make a mistake? Or when things don't go according to plan? What do you hear in your mind when things get tough? If you're anything like most people, your inner dialogue is filled with self-doubt, criticism, and sometimes even self-loathing. You might hear, "I'm not good enough," or "I'll never get this right." This type of thinking keeps you small, trapped in your own head, and disconnected from your true potential. But it's not the truth. What if I told you that you have the power to change this conversation right now, this very moment? What if you could choose to replace self-doubt with self-compassion? What if, instead of telling yourself that you're not good enough, you started telling yourself that you're exactly where you need to be, and every step you take is a step toward growth? You have that power, and that's the first step toward building the unshakable self-esteem that will guide you through every challenge life throws your way. The first key to adjusting your inner dialogue is understanding that you are your most important ally, not your enemy. It's easy to fall into the trap of believing that your self-worth is tied to what others think of you. But as we've discussed, your worth is intrinsic. It's not defined by approval or validation from anyone outside of you. So why are you allowing your inner voice to act as if it's tied to others' opinions? Imagine how freeing it would be to untangle yourself from that constant need for external validation. When you stop looking to others for confirmation of your worth, you start to trust yourself. You start recognizing that your thoughts don't define you. You choose the narrative. The words you say to yourself matter. Here's the next important realization. Your inner dialogue is a reflection of your habits. Think about it. The more you listen to your inner critic, the stronger it gets. It's like a muscle. The more you feed it, the more it grows. But the opposite is also true. The more you choose to speak kindly to yourself, the more that voice becomes a source of strength and motivation. This isn't about denying your mistakes or pretending to be perfect. It's about learning how to approach yourself with compassion and understanding instead of with harsh criticism. When you make a mistake, your inner voice might initially say, "You messed up, you're a failure. You can't do this." But that's not the truth. The truth is that you're learning, The truth is that you're human. Mistakes are a part of life. They're part of the journey. And the sooner you can acknowledge that, the sooner you can start changing that narrative. Instead of calling yourself a failure, you can say, "That was hard, but I'm learning and I'm getting better." Do you see the difference? This is how you reframe your thinking. This is how you take control of your thoughts instead of letting them control you. It's important to remember that your thoughts aren't permanent. You don't have to let the negative thoughts define your entire reality. When you start recognizing that your thoughts are not a reflection of who you are, but simply passing moments, you free yourself from their power. You can let them come and go without attaching to them, and with practice, you'll start replacing them with more empowering thoughts that build your self-esteem. Let's make this more practical. Start paying attention to the thoughts that run through your mind on a daily basis. When something goes wrong, what do you say to yourself? When you don't get the job, or when a relationship doesn't work out, or when you're not where you thought you'd be in life? How do you respond? The key is to catch yourself in those moments. Pay attention to what's happening inside your head. When you recognize the self-criticism or negativity, pause and consciously choose a different response. Instead of thinking, "I'm not good enough," try thinking, "I'm capable and I'm getting better every day." Instead of thinking, "I'll never get this right," try thinking, "I can learn from this experience and improve." And instead of thinking, "I'm a failure," try thinking, "This is a setback, but it's part of the process. I'm moving forward." This process of adjusting your inner dialogue isn't about being perfect, it's about progress. It's about shifting from self-doubt to self-assurance, from self-criticism to self-compassion. The more you practice this, the more natural it will become. The more you shift your inner dialogue to be empowering and supportive, the stronger your self-esteem will grow. And the more you'll begin to see yourself as capable, worthy, and enough, just as you are. Here's something to try. Set an intention every morning to speak kindly to yourself. Start your day by telling yourself something positive, whether it's a simple affirmation like, "I am worthy," or "I am enough," or something more specific, like, "I will do my best today and I will learn from whatever happens." Start the day with a positive dialogue. You'll be amazed at how much this simple practice can shift your mindset over time. So, what's the next step after adjusting your inner dialogue? It's removing the negative influences and people who don't align with the self-respect and growth you're cultivating. Because the energy you allow in your life shapes the energy within you. Let's explore that in the next section. This section emphasizes the power of adjusting one's inner dialogue as a foundational tool in building unshakable self-esteem. It provides practical steps for shifting from self-criticism to self-compassion and encourages self-empowerment through thought reframing. The section smoothly transitions to the next lesson, guiding the listener toward removing negative influences in their life. Now that you've begun adjusting your inner dialogue, embracing the fact that your value doesn't depend on being seen or validated by others, it's time to tackle one of the most toxic habits that undermines self-esteem: comparing yourself to others. Let's be honest. How often do you find yourself scrolling through social media, looking at other people's success, their happiness, their accomplishments, and feeling like you're not measuring up? Maybe you see someone your age living their dream job, traveling the world, or hitting milestones you haven't even gotten close to. You start thinking, why can't I be like them? Why don't I have that success, that lifestyle, that happiness? And with every comparison, you feel yourself sinking a little more, doubting your journey and your worth. But here's the truth. Comparison is the thief of joy. Every time you compare yourself to someone else, you're automatically devaluing your unique path. You're telling yourself that your journey isn't enough because it doesn't look like someone else's. You're diminishing your own progress because it doesn't match the timeline or the image you see in others. And this isn't just about social media, it's about life in general. How many times have you compared yourself to classmates, co-workers, friends, or even family members? It's time to break free from this toxic habit. Your life, your journey, and your success are yours alone. No one else's path is meant to look like yours. The only comparison that should matter is between who you are today and who you were yesterday. Here's a powerful realization. Every time you compare yourself to someone else, you lose sight of what makes you unique. You're no longer focused on your own growth, your own progress. You're distracted by someone else's version of success, and that distraction pulls you away from your own goals. But what if instead of comparing, you started advancing? What if instead of looking at someone else's progress and feeling discouraged, you looked at your own growth and celebrated it? This shift is monumental. Instead of feeling disheartened because someone else has what you want, start focusing on your own milestones, no matter how small they might seem. If you've made progress, even if it's just a little, celebrate that victory. If you've learned something new, if you've overcome a challenge, if you've pushed through self-doubt, that is a success. And the more you focus on your own advancement, the more you will start to see how far you've come. Remember, no one else's progress is a reflection of your own worth. You are not in competition with anyone but yourself. Your journey is about moving forward at your own pace, creating your own wins, and defining your own success, not measuring up to the standards set by others. You don't need to run someone else's race, you need to run yours. And the only thing that matters is how far you've come, not where anyone else is. Let's dive a little deeper into how comparison can hurt your progress. When you focus too much on where others are, you end up feeling overwhelmed. You may think, they're further along, I'll never catch up. Why bother trying? But here's the thing, the only person you need to be better than is who you were yesterday. If you're always trying to match someone else's timeline or success, you'll exhaust yourself. You'll feel like you're running in circles because you're chasing someone else's dreams, goals, and expectations. But when you focus on your own path, the only race you're running is the one you're meant to win, at your own pace. Here's a secret. Success looks different for everyone. For some, it might mean climbing the corporate ladder. For others, it might mean starting a business. For some, success might look like a happy family life, while for others, it might look like traveling the world and experiencing new cultures. The point is, your success doesn't need to look like anyone else's. What's important is that you define it for yourself. So how do you stop comparing and start advancing? Here are a few powerful steps. 1. Shift your mindset. Instead of seeing someone else's success as a measure of your failure, choose to see it as inspiration. Their success is not taking anything away from you. In fact, it shows what's possible. Let it fuel your drive, not your insecurities. 2. Set your own goals. Stop measuring your progress against someone else's. Instead, ask yourself, what do I want for myself? What are my goals? What are the small steps I can take today to get closer to them? And when you accomplish something, celebrate it. It doesn't matter if it's a huge breakthrough or a small step forward. Progress is progress. 3. Focus on gratitude. Every time you feel the urge to compare, switch gears and focus on what you're grateful for. Think about how far you've come. Reflect on your personal growth, the lessons you've learned, and the strength you've gained. Gratitude shifts your perspective from lack to abundance. You'll start to see just how much you've already accomplished. 4. Be patient with yourself. Understand that you're not behind. Everyone moves at their own pace, and sometimes the journey is slower for a reason. Trust the process. Your growth is happening at the exact pace it needs to. 5. Celebrate your uniqueness. Embrace what makes you different. Your path is different for a reason. The things you've overcome, the lessons you've learned, and the dreams you're chasing are uniquely yours. Own your journey. Remember, the key is to focus on your own advancement. The more you celebrate your growth, the less power comparison will have over you. The more you focus on your own path, the more fulfilling your journey will be. Because, at the end of the day, your success is about who you become, not where anyone else is. In the next section, we'll dive into a powerful lesson that will help you take even more control over your progress. Learning to say no, and why this is a crucial skill for building unshakable self-esteem. Now that we've learned to adjust our inner dialogue, stop comparing ourselves to others, and focus on advancing in our own lives, we arrive at a critical and often overlooked component of self-esteem and personal growth: being the person you promise to be. Think about it for a second. How many times have you made promises to yourself? Whether it was to wake up earlier, work out more, start that side hustle, or cut out toxic habits. We all set goals and intentions, yet so often we find ourselves falling short of the promises we've made. You might have told yourself, "This year is the year I get serious about my health," or "I'll finally take that leap and start the business I've been dreaming of." But months later, you find yourself stuck in the same routine. Why does this happen? Why do we break promises to ourselves when we know we deserve better? The answer lies in integrity. Not the kind of integrity that comes from living up to other people's expectations, but the kind that comes from keeping the promises you make to yourself, no matter how small or how big. True self-esteem is built when you align your actions with your values. It's built when you can look at yourself in the mirror and say, "I am proud of the person I am becoming," not because of anyone else's standards, but because you're finally following through on what you know you're capable of. So, let's talk about why being the person you promise to be is non-negotiable for your personal growth and unshakable self-esteem. Every time you fail to follow through on a promise to yourself, you chip away at your confidence. It might seem like a small thing at first. Missing a workout, hitting snooze on your alarm for the 5th time, procrastinating on your goals. But over time, these small actions accumulate, and your subconscious starts to believe that you are not someone who can be trusted. Not by others, but by yourself. This is a dangerous cycle. When you start doubting your own word, you undermine your self-worth. You begin to believe that you can't trust yourself. And if you can't trust yourself, how can you expect anyone else to trust you? This is the foundation of low self-esteem. It's not just about what others think of you. It's about the story you're telling yourself about who you are and what you are capable of. But here's the good news. You can break that cycle today. It's all about taking consistent, deliberate action to align your words and your actions. It's about deciding once and for all that you are worthy of keeping the promises you make to yourself. And it starts with small steps. Think about it. If you promise yourself that you'll wake up at 6 o'clock a.m., get up at 6 o'clock a.m. If you promise that you'll work on your business for 30 minutes a day, do it every single day. If you promise yourself that you'll quit a bad habit, stay committed to it, even when it's tough. These small promises, when kept, compound over time, and they build an unshakable self-belief that you can rely on yourself no matter what. Here's something you might not have considered. Integrity is the foundation of your personal power. When you're in integrity with yourself, you don't need external validation. You don't need others to tell you that you're doing well. You know that you are. Why? Because you're keeping your word. You're proving to yourself that you can rely on you, and that builds a deep, unshakable sense of self-respect. If you think about anyone who is truly respected, whether it's a mentor, a leader, or even a friend, their respect doesn't come from being loud, being perfect, or seeking approval. Their respect comes from being reliable, being true to their word, and showing up when they say they will. People respect those who do what they say they will do. And when you become the person who shows up for yourself, day in and day out, you become the person that others respect as well. But here's the thing, integrity isn't a one-time event. It's a daily practice. And here's where it gets challenging. It requires a level of commitment to yourself that not everyone is willing to give. It's easy to promise things when you're feeling motivated, but when life gets busy or when things don't go according to plan, it's tempting to let your commitments slide. That's when your self-esteem is tested the most, and that's when you have to show up for yourself the most. Let me ask you, how many times have you let an excuse take priority over your promise to yourself? How often do you cancel on yourself when things get tough? What if you decided that no matter how you feel, you're going to show up for yourself every day? What if you decided that your word was sacred no matter the circumstances? This doesn't mean perfection. It means consistency. It means striving to be better every day, even when you fail. Because when you do fail, and you will, you don't abandon yourself. You don't give up. You simply get back up, reassess, and try again. You learn, you grow, and you move forward, always true to the person you are becoming. This is where true self-love comes from. Self-love isn't just about saying nice things to yourself. It's about holding yourself accountable, respecting yourself enough to take action, and making sure you're living in alignment with your values. It's about becoming the person you've always promised to be. So, how do you become the person you promise to be? It starts by taking the first step. Set small, achievable goals. Hold yourself accountable to them. When you follow through, celebrate it. And when you don't beat yourself up. Just get back on track. Build this consistency, build this integrity, and soon you'll find that not only will your self-esteem grow, but the people around you will start to see you as someone they can rely on as well. And this leads us perfectly into the next lesson. Because once you begin to trust yourself, you'll be ready to face the world in a whole new way. You'll be ready to set clear boundaries, prioritize your growth, and stop letting anything or anyone distract you from your path. But before we dive into that, take a moment to reflect on the promise you made to yourself today. Who do you want to be? And how are you going to show up for yourself from this moment forward? In the previous sections, we've talked about the power of making promises to yourself and keeping them, of being the person you promised to be, and about how crucial it is to align your actions with your integrity. But there's one final lesson that can truly take your self-esteem to unshakable heights. It's about how you see your imperfections. We all have flaws, and we all make mistakes. No one is perfect. Perfection is an illusion, something society pressures us to chase, but it's nothing more than a standard that ultimately robs us of joy and growth. The truth is, it's our imperfections that hold the key to our strength, and the sooner you accept them, the sooner you can begin using them as the foundations for your growth. Have you ever looked at your mistakes or flaws and felt like they defined you? Maybe you have a past that you're not proud of, or a quality about yourself that you wish you could change. Perhaps there's a part of you that just doesn't fit into the ideal version you see in your mind, and every time you look in the mirror, you feel that sting of not measuring up. But here's the harsh truth you need to accept. Your imperfections do not define you, but your reaction to them does. You see, the most successful and resilient people on the planet didn't become who they are by running from their imperfections. No, they embraced them, they worked with them, and they turned them into stepping stones toward personal greatness. The key isn't to hide your flaws, but to build from them, and that's exactly what we're going to talk about. The first step is to stop seeing your imperfections as obstacles. Instead, treat them as part of your unique journey. Your flaws, whether they're emotional scars, bad habits, or things you wish you could change about your body, are the very building blocks that, if you allow them, can shape you into a person with unshakable self-confidence. Your weaknesses do not have to be weaknesses at all. When you change your perspective and stop running from them, you will find that they can become your greatest assets. Imagine this. Every failure you've ever had, every imperfection you've encountered is not a roadblock, it's a lesson. Every misstep is a chance to learn something new about yourself, about life, and about the world. Your imperfections are your personal teacher. They show you where you need to grow, and they present opportunities to rise above challenges that others might have never faced. The more you accept this, the more you allow yourself to become a person of true inner strength. Let me give you an example. Think about an area in your life where you've struggled. Maybe it's a job you didn't get, a relationship that didn't work out, or a personal goal you didn't achieve. It's easy to look at those moments and think, I'm just not good enough. But what if instead you looked at those failures and said, that was a valuable lesson that will make me stronger next time? What if you started to look at your imperfections not as flaws, but as opportunities to become better? This isn't about excusing mistakes or pretending that everything is fine. It's about giving yourself permission to grow from your flaws. It's about saying, I'm not perfect, but I'm going to keep moving forward, learning and improving. In doing so, you begin to build self-respect, the kind of respect that no one can take away from you. It's easy to get caught up in the idea that we have to be perfect in order to be worthy. But perfection is not the goal. Progress is. Every time you accept your imperfections, you're showing yourself compassion and strength. It's this compassionate strength that fuels growth, helping you to move past fear and doubt. Your imperfections are what make you human, and it's your humanity that makes you powerful. Think about the people you respect most. Do they have flaws? Of course they do. But their flaws don't make them weak. They make them relatable, real, and authentic. They own their imperfections and use them to fuel their drive for self-improvement. They don't apologize for their mistakes. They learn from them and move forward. This is the mindset you must adopt if you want to build that unshakable self-esteem. The next time you face a challenge or experience a setback, I want you to take a moment and ask yourself, how can I use this to grow? What is this experience teaching me about myself? You may find that your imperfections are not the things that hold you back. They're the very tools you need to break through the barriers that once seemed impossible. But don't just stop there. Use your imperfections to connect with others. In a world that tells us we must be perfect, it's the people who show their vulnerability, their mistakes and their flaws that we're drawn to. These are the people who are real with themselves and others, and they're the ones who earn the most respect. When you stop hiding your imperfections and allow yourself to be vulnerable, you give others permission to do the same. You create a space for real connection, a space where people can grow together, flaws and all. When you embrace your imperfections, you free yourself from the chains of comparison and judgment. You stop trying to meet unrealistic standards and start focusing on becoming the best version of yourself, not someone else. Your path is unique. Your story is unique. Your flaws are yours to own, and when you do, you'll find that they become your greatest source of strength. This is not a one-time lesson, but a daily practice. Every time you confront a challenge or an imperfection, make the choice to grow from it. Take the lesson, apply it, and move forward. In doing so, you build a life filled with integrity, confidence, and authenticity. And this leads us directly into our next lesson, where we'll talk about how to use your growth to set boundaries that protect your peace and personal power. But for now, take a moment to reflect on your imperfections. Instead of seeing them as barriers, see them as the foundation upon which you will build your unshakable self-esteem. Let me ask you this. How often do you make promises to yourself and then break them? Whether it's the decision to get up earlier, eat healthier, or follow through with something that matters, how often do you fall short? You see, discipline isn't just about what we do when people are watching. It's about how we hold ourselves accountable when no one else is there to keep us in check. And that, my friends, is where true strength lies. Discipline is the foundation of an unshakable self-esteem. Without discipline, all the dreams, the goals, and the plans we make are nothing more than words. Discipline is what turns intentions into actions. It's what pushes us to show up, even when the excitement has faded and the world isn't cheering us on. It's the quiet force that keeps us moving when the path ahead seems tough. The thing about discipline is that it doesn't require grand gestures. It's built one small step at a time. Every single choice you make, no matter how small, is a step toward or away from the person you want to become. And I get it. Sometimes the hardest thing is taking that first step. We make excuses, we procrastinate, and we wait for the perfect moment. But let's be clear, there is no perfect moment. The only perfect time is now. Let's break this down. Discipline is the ability to do what you know needs to be done, even when you don't feel like doing it. It's about saying no to immediate gratification and choosing long-term growth instead. It's about the habits you create in the quiet moments when no one is watching. It's the choices that are made when no one is around to push you forward or remind you of your goals. And that's where we need to be honest with ourselves. Do you have the discipline to follow through with what you say you want? It's easy to talk about change, to talk about improvement, but the real change happens when we act. We are what we do consistently, not what we think about occasionally. Take a moment and think about that. How many times have you let yourself down because you didn't follow through? Maybe it was skipping the gym, putting off that important project, or choosing convenience over discipline. But here's the thing. Every time you let yourself down, you weaken your trust in yourself. And the more you do that, the harder it becomes to believe in your ability to change. But when you show up, even when you don't feel like it, you prove to yourself that you are capable of greatness. That is how discipline builds unshakable self-esteem. So how do we cultivate discipline? The first step is simple. Commit to consistency. I'm not talking about perfection. I'm talking about consistent daily actions. Think of discipline as a muscle. It gets stronger every time you use it. If you want to build it, you have to exercise it. Start small, start manageable, but be consistent. Maybe it's just getting up on time each day. Maybe it's working on that project for just 20 minutes. Start with small wins, and over time, those small wins will stack up into something much bigger. The second part of discipline is about staying true to your word. How many times have you promised yourself that you'd do something and then walked away from it? How does it feel when you break your promises? That feeling of disappointment is a consequence of self-betrayal, and each time you break your word, you reinforce the belief that you can't trust yourself. Discipline is about rebuilding that trust. It's about doing what you say you will do, even when no one is looking, even when it's inconvenient. But here's the kicker. Discipline doesn't mean doing it alone. Yes, you must hold yourself accountable, but you also need to surround yourself with the right influences. Discipline thrives when you have a support system in place, whether it's a mentor, a friend, or a community. Find people who elevate you, who keep you motivated, and who challenge you to be your best self. Let's talk about commitment to growth. Discipline is about saying no to distractions and yes to personal growth. It's easy to get caught up in what feels good right now, scrolling through social media, binge-watching TV, eating comfort food. But none of that will get you closer to the person you want to be. True growth happens when you stay focused on the long game, when you make decisions that support your vision of the future, not just your present comfort. Think of the most disciplined people you admire. Maybe it's an athlete, a successful entrepreneur, or someone who has overcome incredible odds. Do they have perfect days? Of course not. They fail, they stumble, they get tired. But they keep going, they keep showing up, and that's the power of discipline. It's not about being perfect, it's about getting up every single time you fall down. Let's bring this home. Discipline is the path to freedom. It's not about being rigid or harsh with yourself. It's about creating the structure that will set you free to be your best self. Think of discipline as your framework, your foundation for success. It's the bedrock upon which everything else in your life is built. Now, I want you to ask yourself, what's the one area in your life where you've been lacking discipline? Is it your health, your career, your relationships? Where can you commit to showing up, even when it's hard, even when you don't feel like it? Because that's where your real transformation begins. Small steps lead to big results. And once you commit to building that discipline, you'll notice something incredible start to happen. Your self-esteem will grow. When you keep promises to yourself, when you follow through, when you take consistent action, your belief in your ability to succeed will skyrocket. So, as we move forward into the next section, let's reflect on how we can cultivate even more inner strength. We'll talk about setting boundaries and saying no to distractions, so you can continue on your path with confidence and clarity. Because when you master discipline, you truly own your life. And that's when you'll be unstoppable. Fear. It's something we all know and something we all avoid. But have you ever stopped to ask yourself, what would happen if you stopped running from your fear and started facing it head on? What would change in your life if you were to stand tall in the face of your deepest fears, look them straight in the eye and say, "You don't control me anymore"? Think about it for a moment. How many times have you held back because you were scared? How many opportunities have you missed out on because you were worried about what could go wrong? Fear paralyzes us, stops us dead in our tracks, and convinces us that we're not good enough, that we're not ready, that we should wait for the right moment. But the truth is, fear is only powerful when we let it control us. Let me tell you something. When you choose to face your fears, you step into your true power. It's like flipping a switch, shifting from a passive observer of your life into an active participant who takes charge. Every time you confront what scares you, you're rewriting the story of who you are. So let's break it down. Fear is natural. It's a basic human instinct that has kept us safe throughout history. But here's where we go wrong. We let fear control us instead of using it to push us forward. Fear doesn't have to stop you. It can be your biggest ally in becoming the person you've always wanted to be. Imagine this for a second. What if every time you felt that lump in your throat, that knot in your stomach, that instinct to run away, you instead leaned into it? What if you used that energy, that fear, and turned it into fuel for your growth? The reality is, the moment you face your fear is the moment you begin to transform into someone completely unrecognizable. You can't build confidence and courage by avoiding what scares you. You don't gain strength by running from the challenges that life throws at you. True growth happens when you decide to confront the very thing that makes you uncomfortable. Think about this. Every time you avoid something out of fear, you reinforce the belief that you can't handle it. You teach yourself to shrink back. But what if, instead of stepping back, you stepped forward? Imagine how you would feel if, in that moment of fear, you chose to act anyway. Here's the reality of fear. It only has the power you give it. Fear isn't a monster, it's just a thought. And just like any thought, you can change it. You don't have to let it dictate your life. Now, I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it's going to feel comfortable. In fact, facing what scares you is often one of the hardest things you will ever do. But here's the catch. The more you do it, the easier it becomes. And before you know it, fear that once paralyzed you will become nothing more than a stepping stone to something greater. What would happen if you stopped running from rejection? What if, instead of worrying about what others think, you stepped into the world with the mindset that you have nothing to prove to anyone but yourself? What if failure became your teacher, not your enemy? When you start embracing what scares you, you start realizing that rejection, failure, and even the fear of not being good enough are just signals to push forward. Let's go deeper. What happens when you stop avoiding the uncomfortable? What happens when you make it a daily practice to put yourself out there, to do the hard things, to have the difficult conversations? You start to build resilience, grit, and confidence. The very things that used to hold you back will become your greatest assets. I'll be honest with you, though. You have to make a choice. You have to decide that you're no longer willing to let fear keep you small. And here's the key. This choice doesn't require perfection. It only requires action. Every step you take, no matter how small, brings you closer to becoming the person you were always meant to be. Now let's talk about how this plays into your self-esteem. When you face your fears, you build trust with yourself. You start to realize that you can handle whatever comes your way. That feeling of empowerment. It's the result of choosing to face the fear that used to control you. And once you realize that you can face anything, your self-esteem becomes unshakable. The more you put yourself out there, the more you will start to see that fear is just an obstacle to your growth, not a barrier. It becomes a signal that you are on the right path, doing the work, getting closer to the person you are meant to become. So, I want to leave you with this thought. Don't wait for fear to disappear. It never will. Instead, choose to act anyway. The more you confront your fears, the stronger you'll become, and eventually you'll look back and realize that you've transformed into someone who is unrecognizable, a version of yourself that is fearless, unstoppable, and unapologetically powerful. As we move forward, think about what's waiting for you on the other side of that fear, because once you face what scares you, you'll realize that there's nothing you can't handle, and that's when your life begins to change. When fear no longer has a hold on you. Let's talk about something that impacts every single one of us, whether we're aware of it or not. Money. It's one of the most powerful forces in our lives, yet so many of us fail to take control of it. We let our finances dictate our mood, our stress, our confidence, and sometimes even our future. But what if I told you that you can change all that right now, today? Taking control of your money doesn't just mean having more of it. It's about empowering yourself to make smarter decisions that align with your values and goals. Money isn't just a tool for survival. It's a tool for your freedom, your security, and ultimately, your growth. Here's the first truth you need to understand. How you manage your money is a direct reflection of your self-respect. If you're spending without purpose, buying things just to fill a void, or avoiding financial planning altogether, you're telling yourself that you don't value your future. You're saying, I don't care enough about my own well-being to manage what I have. And that mindset, it's a dangerous one. It can keep you stuck, frustrated, and constantly chasing after something that will never be enough. But when you take charge of your finances, you send a powerful message, not just to the world, but to yourself. You send a message that says, I am in control. I am not at the mercy of my circumstances. I am capable of building my future step by step. When you manage your money wisely, you build a foundation for everything else in your life. Your sense of stability, your ability to take risks, your ability to take control of your destiny. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. I don't make enough to control anything. Let me stop you right there. It's not about how much you make. It's about how you manage what you have. You don't need a six-figure salary to take control of your money. You need awareness, discipline, and the willingness to put in the work. And the good news is that work starts today. Start by simply understanding where your money is going. Track your expenses for a week. I don't mean just the big purchases. I mean the little ones too. Those impulse buys, the coffee you get every morning, the subscription you signed up for but never use. We often let small expenses slip by unnoticed, but when added together, they can take a huge chunk out of your monthly budget. Those small habits, when left unchecked, become massive leaks in your financial boat. But here's the thing. Once you start tracking your spending, you begin to see patterns, and that's when the real power begins. Now you can make choices. You can prioritize what truly matters to you. Want to go on that vacation you've been dreaming about? Take control of your money and start budgeting for it. Want to invest in your education or personal growth? Stop waiting for the right time and start planning now. You have the power to design your future, and it starts with your finances. Here's where it gets interesting. Financial control doesn't just affect your wallet, it affects your mindset. When you start seeing your money grow, when you start saving and investing, your confidence will soar. You will begin to trust yourself more. You'll start making better decisions, not just with money, but in every area of your life. Financial control breeds mental control. It empowers you to say no to things that don't align with your goals and yes to the things that truly matter. Let's talk about investing for a moment. This is where a lot of people freeze up. The idea of investing feels overwhelming, especially when you don't have much extra to play with. But I want to tell you something that may surprise you. Investing isn't just for the wealthy. It's for anyone who wants to take charge of their financial future. Even if you start small, the key is to start now. Small, consistent investments, whether it's in the stock market, real estate, or even a retirement account, can lead to huge returns over time. But before you dive in, let me stress one thing. Don't invest out of fear. Investing is about long-term growth. It's about putting your money to work in a way that reflects your goals. Don't chase the quick gains. Focus on building wealth steadily, with intention. The earlier you start, the more time your money has to grow. And when you understand the basics of investing, when you get past the intimidation factor, it becomes one of the most powerful tools you have for building a secure, empowered future. Now, let's get to a critical part of taking control. Saving. Saving is not just about tucking money away for a rainy day. It's about building a buffer, giving yourself the freedom to make decisions without financial stress. Saving is freedom. It's the freedom to take risks, to step out of your comfort zone, to start your own business, or to go after that job you've always wanted without worrying about where the next paycheck will come from. When you have savings, you're no longer a slave to your circumstances. You are the master of your own financial destiny. You don't need to wait for the perfect moment to start saving. The best time is now. Start small if you have to. Even if it's just $20 a week, you're building the muscle of financial control. The more you save, the more you can invest. And the more you invest, the closer you get to financial freedom. But let me be clear. Financial control is not about hoarding money or living in fear of spending. It's about being intentional. It's about understanding what's truly important and making choices that align with your values. It's about being able to look in the mirror and say, I'm in charge of my life, my money, and my future. So, I want you to ask yourself, what would it feel like to be in control of your money? Imagine the peace of mind that comes with knowing you can handle any financial challenge that comes your way. That's the kind of power I'm talking about. When you take control of your money, you take control of your life. As we wrap this up, I want you to think about your next steps. Take action today. Start tracking your spending. Start saving. Start investing. The road to financial empowerment starts with one decision, and that decision is yours. Don't let fear or indecision hold you back. You are capable of mastering your money and, in turn, mastering your life. Next time we meet, we'll dive into how this newfound financial power can be a springboard for even more personal growth and self-mastery. So, stick with me as we continue to take charge of every aspect of our lives, because this journey, it's just getting started. Let's take a moment to talk about something that most of us tend to overlook. Yet, it's at the core of everything we do, our body. We live in a world that constantly tells us to push harder, do more, and sacrifice our well-being for the sake of achievement. But here's the truth. Your body is not just the vessel you carry around. It's the foundation for everything you aspire to become. We've all heard it before. Your body is your temple. But let's stop for a moment and really consider what that means. Your body is where your soul resides. It's where your thoughts, your aspirations, your feelings, and your spirit all come together. And if you're not treating it with the respect it deserves, you're undermining the very foundation of your potential. Imagine for a moment that your body was a house. Would you neglect it? Would you leave the roof leaking, the walls cracked, the floors dirty? Of course not. You would maintain it, nurture it, and make sure it's a space that allows you to thrive. So why do so many of us neglect our bodies as if they're not worthy of the same care? When you fail to prioritize your body, you're sending the message that you don't value yourself enough to give it the attention it needs. And here's the kicker. This mindset doesn't just affect your body, it affects your mind, your relationships, and your ability to achieve anything in life. If your body is weak, tired, or in pain, your mind follows suit. But when you treat your body with respect, when you nourish it, move it, and care for it, it becomes the strong foundation upon which everything else in your life can stand tall. But don't mistake this for vanity. Taking care of your body is not about looking good for others. It's about feeling good for yourself. It's about giving yourself the strength and the energy to tackle every challenge that comes your way. When you're physically strong, you're mentally strong. When you feel good in your own skin, your confidence skyrockets. Your body is the anchor for your mental and emotional well-being. It's time to start treating it like it deserves. Now, I know what you're thinking. Maybe you're busy. Maybe you think you don't have time to hit the gym. Or maybe you've convinced yourself that sleep is overrated. We all make excuses. But the truth is, we've been taught to glorify hustle culture and neglect self-care. But here's the deal. You can't pour from an empty cup. If you don't take care of your body, you're going to burn out. You're going to hit a wall, and the things that matter most to you, your goals, your relationships, your passions, will start to suffer. So, how do we begin to treat our bodies with the respect they deserve? It starts with understanding that your body is not something you have to fight against. It's something you work with. Start by looking at your daily habits. Are you feeding your body foods that fuel it, or are you putting things into it that cause harm in the long run? You don't need to be perfect, but you do need to be intentional. The body thrives on real, whole foods. And don't tell me you don't have time to prepare a healthy meal. If you can spend hours scrolling through social media, you can carve out 20 minutes to prepare something that will serve your body and mind in the long term. Next, consider your movement. Your body was made to move. Whether you're working out, walking, or even stretching, movement is the key to keeping your body and mind healthy. You don't have to train for a marathon, but you do have to keep your body active. You were built for strength, endurance, and resilience, and when you make exercise a regular part of your routine, you're sending a clear message to yourself. I am worthy of strength. I am worthy of vitality. Now, let's talk about rest. Rest isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. How often do you sacrifice sleep to get ahead, to work more, to keep pushing forward? You might think that burning the midnight oil will make you more successful, but it's actually doing the opposite. Rest is where your body rebuilds itself. It's where your mind recharges. Without enough rest, you'll find yourself running on empty, and nothing will get done as well as it could. Don't forget about hydration. It's the simplest yet most powerful thing you can do for your body. Water is life. It cleanses, nourishes, and energizes every cell in your body. And yet, How many of us forget to drink enough of it each day? Start today. Drink that glass of water, feel the difference. Your body will thank you. And finally, mind your mindset. This is crucial. You cannot treat your body as the temple it deserves to be if you're constantly speaking negatively to it. When was the last time you looked in the mirror and acknowledged your body for all it does for you? Your body is not a burden, it's a tool, a vehicle, a source of power. Speak to it with kindness, with appreciation, and with respect. The way you think about your body shapes the way you treat it. Now, I know this isn't easy. In a world that pushes us to look a certain way, to be constantly on the go, it's easy to forget to take care of ourselves. But remember, your body is where your soul lives. It's where your energy flows, where your dreams take root, and where your vision of the future begins. If you neglect it, you neglect yourself. I want to challenge you. Starting today, treat your body as your most sacred possession. Honor it. Nourish it, move it, rest it. Speak kindly to it. And as you do, you'll notice that everything else in your life begins to shift. You'll feel stronger, more confident, and more capable of handling whatever challenges come your way. As we wrap up, take a moment to think about how you can begin this journey of self-care. What's one small step you can take today to honor your body and respect it as the vessel that carries your soul? Start there and watch how everything else starts to transform. Because when you treat your body with the care it deserves, you unlock the potential to become the best version of yourself. And that's where the real magic happens. Now that we've journeyed through the powerful lessons of building unshakable self-esteem, let's pause and reflect on how far we've come. Every step we've taken has been about reclaiming the power that rightfully belongs to you. The journey to building solid self-esteem is not an easy one, but it is the most transformative path you'll ever take. And here's the truth, it's worth every ounce of effort. Throughout this journey, we've discussed how you can stop seeking approval, how you can set boundaries, how you can cultivate your inner strength, and most importantly, how you can take ownership of your life in a way that others can't shake. When you begin to live with unshakable self-esteem, everything else follows suit. Your relationships, your career, your ambitions, everything will elevate because you are grounded in your own worth. Remember, self-esteem isn't about being perfect. It's about acknowledging your imperfections and choosing to value yourself despite them. The most powerful people in this world are not those who hide their flaws or pretend to be something they're not. They are the ones who embrace their flaws, who stand tall in their authenticity, and who show up every day no matter what. That's the power you hold when you choose to build unshakable self-esteem. But here's the catch. This is not a one-time fix. It's a lifelong commitment. This journey doesn't end with a single moment of realization. Every decision you make from here on out is an opportunity to strengthen that foundation. It's about every choice you make that aligns with your true values. It's about every time you say no to something that doesn't serve you, and yes to something that builds you. It's about getting back up every time you fall and not allowing yourself to be shaken. So what's next for you? Now that you have the tools, the mindset, and the wisdom, it's time to put them into practice. The next step is simple. Start today. Choose one action, just one, that demonstrates to yourself that you value your self-worth. It could be as small as committing to something you've been putting off, setting a new boundary with someone who drains you, or speaking up for yourself in a situation where you usually stay quiet. Whatever it is, take action now. Because the longer you wait to take action, the longer you'll stay in the place of self-doubt. The longer you wait, the more you'll feed that inner critic that tells you you're not enough. But I promise you, you are more than enough, just as you are. Now, if this message resonates with you, if you're ready to break free from the need for external validation, and if you're committed to building an unshakable self-esteem that will carry you through every storm, then hit that subscribe button. Like this video if you've gained even a fraction of the wisdom that can change your life, because this is just the beginning. And I want to hear from you. What is the first step you're going to take to build unshakable self-esteem? Share in the comments below, and let's start a movement of people who know their worth and are ready to show up as their best selves every single day. As we close, remember this. The power of unshakable self-esteem doesn't come from the world around you. It comes from the world within you, and when you harness that power, there is nothing that can stop you. Keep building, keep growing, and remember, you are enough, and your best days are ahead of you. Now go out there and be the best version of yourself. If you've made it this far, drop a yes in the comments to show that you're committed to the journey of self-respect and growth. Let's make this a community that lifts each other up, one step at a time. Don't forget to share this message with someone who needs to hear it. We're in this together. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.